Hey, I hope you guys are still with us. It's fine. We're here now. You don't have to hide and pee yourselves. That was, of course, the Babadook. This has been another installment of Catching Up, or this is another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I'm Josh.
And we're in October country, guys. It's the time. It's my favorite time of the year, that countdown towards Halloween. You know, it's not too hot, not too cold outside, not as much pollen as there is during the spring.
My friend Nicole's birthday. And our friend Ken's birthday.
My brother's birthday.
No,
It's in October? Okay. That's sweet, man. But yeah, it's, you know, you've got cider, you've got pumpkin everything. If you're into pumpkin everything, if you haven't been completely burned out on pumpkin everything.
Like I have.
Yeah. It's just a fun time. So, as we kind of hinted at last week, you know, we had seen the Babadook and Chris finally saw it. What did you think?
Well, so I had a hard time watching it, like actually keeping up with it for the first I want to say about 40 minutes. Like, I was just like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. It has a real, like, kind of like artsy feel to it, but I feel like it doesn't achieve what it's throwing out there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's just me being an artsy, art school douchebag because I went to film school. Who knows? But once it hits the 40-minute mark and, like, the book comes back and, like, she starts reading the book and it has all, like, the premonitions of the stuff
it's
that's
changed up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where it starts to become an entertaining movie. You know, one that I'm actually interested in watching. And basically every time it has, like, every time the Babadook is there, I'm like, all right, cool. Now I'm interested. I want to watch what's happening. But almost any time that the Babadook isn't involved, I'm like, okay, this is just dragging its knuckles behind, and I'm not enjoying what I'm watching. And then I also I'm throwing it out there. Wasn't a scary movie, not in the sense that I wasn't scared by it, but literally, it's not a quote unquote like horror movie. It's not a monster movie. Like I don't see it as something that was like put out there. Like as like it's not a haunted house movie. It's not a it's not a demon movie or anything like that. Like I think it was just kind of veiled in the concept. Like it's a like a personification of her her survivor's guilt, and it's slow. It clearly, because the kid's like what, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
It is slowly driven her mad to the point where she's actually seeing it manifested in front of her. And like that's her way of compartmentalizing and I guess justifying like all the the fact that she's kind of a terrible mother and kills a dog.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't,
you should have known coming into this that we were just going to talk about it.
Yeah. I think the thing is, I do think it's a horror flick. I think it's. I mean, for me, horror can be mental, kind of like But I think there's a human core in all the great horror stories. Like, for example, one of the most iconic ones, Frankenstein. I think that's about the hubris of man and man's inability to accept death as the finale. That's what Victor Frankenstein's all about. What do you guys think of to kind of expand on that? What do you guys think of like Frankenstein, or not Frankenstein, fucking the Babadook?
I mean, I think the Babadook kind of, I'm on board with Chris. It was like, it's 50-50. I think it was a horror movie too, but I want to be scared. And for me, I mean, the voice that we played at the beginning of this podcast was the scariest thing. And I'm not saying that as it was a weak sauce, the movie, but that to me like was kind of takes your breath away. I thought it was just the way it's done and like it's unrelenting. And imagine just like sitting in your room and hearing that shit, and like hiding under the covers and doesn't matter. There's other elements because I'm a big guy. Like when it comes to jump scares, are cheap and
annoying.
Well, the thing about jump scares, and my big thing is, if you wanted, to me, my way of saying, if you want to check to see if a scene is really terrifying, watch it with the sound off. And if it still makes you jump. Or jumping means nothing because what you're doing is you're reacting to a sound. You're not reacting to what's happening on the screen. You're jumping at a sound and you're not jumping at what's scary. So the Babadook has plenty of elements where are generally creepy and scary because it's a almost blink and you miss it moment where the Babadook's in the background. Like when Sam and I watched it, there's a couple times, did you see that? Did you see that? And it's scary because there's something scary on screen. It's not scary because you're jumping at a reaction of a sound effect.
And your own imagination kind of has you wondering about
sure,
it
yeah.
too.
You know, see, you know, I kind of was joking. It kind of looks like, you know, it kind of looks like King Diamond, even though you don't really see his face. But yeah, and
there's
so,
really only like one scene where you see his face.
Yeah.
And like I'm gonna throw it out there. The kid looked more terrifying than the Babadook a lot of the times.
Well,
and there were certain scenes where I was like, that kid kind of has the Babadook face, like, and I feel like that was completely on purpose.
Yeah,
because like if you also look at it, like it was very much about how it's like she's just as terrified of raising a child as she is of being without her husband.
And there's this just deep-seated kind of resentment toward the child as well.
yeah. I mean, she even yells at him, "Why can't you be normal?" At one moment, she's screaming at him in the car,
and she yelled, "I wish. Sometimes I wish you had been the one that died."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's straight up like, you know, you're so much like your father. Why aren't you your father?
Yeah.
You know, she kind of hates seeing, because whenever she looks at her son, she's reminded of the loss of her life partner. You know,
but at the same time, yells at anyone who calls her son, you know, the kid or the child. It's like, use his name, Samuel.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of symbolism going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, you watched the Babadook. What did you think of it?
Well,
It was a movie.
I do agree that I don't enjoy that it was kind of marketed or advertised as a horror film in the traditional sense of it kind of either being like a ghost story or like a monster story. But again, with what you said about, you know, psychosis and things like that can be horror films, I feel like it was a horror film in a sense to the child. Like everything we saw was from the kid's perspective. And that's what made it seem frightening. Like, this is a kid trying to process his mother's insanity, and that's how it...
Right around the 40-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's largely from her perspective until she's possessed, quote-unquote, by the Babadook.
Right.
And then, like, she's starting to see what he was seeing earlier, because they even, you know, right from the very beginning, like, he's kind of got, like, that imaginary friend syndrome, and, you know, he's terrified of monsters and stuff like that. And then, you know, 40-minute mark, she starts seeing the monsters, and gets possessed by it.
But yeah, I mean, it was okay.
I did like, and I know before we started talking about recording, Jake mentioned that he didn't really like the ending. I kind of liked the symbolism with her, like, feeding the Babadook the worms. I liked the symbolism that, like, it shows that she has kind of taken over control of the Babadook, or her, you know, craziness,
mm-hmm.
and is, you know, and she hasn't just, you know, like it wasn't like the typical ending of like, I've conquered it and now we never have to worry about it again. Like, it's showing that she's actually, like, you know, like, to put it in quote unquote real life terms, like, she's found an outlet for her aggression that doesn't endanger her or her child.
Well, you can never vanquish something like completely, like grief or something, and so she's learned to manage it.
Yeah,
people manage their mental illnesses. People manage their insecurities. Hopefully, otherwise they'll be overtaken by them. You know,
mm-hmm.
and by the end of the film, she certainly got that. You know, hopefully that balance throughout.
Although I wasn't stoked that it was just a "I'm not afraid of you" ending. You know, like
Yeah.
that's something that's
the first Nightmare.
Yeah, that's something that always bothered me about the first Nightmare. You know, I'm not afraid anymore.
And then did you know in the original script for Freddy vs. Jason, instead of what's her name, Kelly Rowland's long monologue where she gets just wrecked by them at the end of it, she was originally supposed to walk up to Freddy and do the whole like, I'm not afraid of you anymore, and he kind of recoils for a second and then kills her and goes, not that movie, bitch. Yeah. Which I think would have been better than the long, drawn-out monologue that's
about
like...
his penis.
Yeah.
It doesn't even really make sense because it's like, you know, like, she's saying that, like, he's got 4 claws, 4 little claws, and that's like compensating for his small penis. But Jason's got a giant machete, so therefore he's got a big penis. It's like, well, if you're compensating, I guess maybe she's saying quantity is compensating for his little penis, but usually size is what is
like when people get annoyed over like smart cars.
Yeah.
It's like that somehow threatens their manhood. It's like, dude, just let it go. But that's kind of it's a weird ending. Jake was just the one that was like, fuck this.
No,
I like the symbolism, but like the execution was
the
a little
symbolism's
weird.
there, but it's like, seriously, man, like we're gonna like feed worms to the Babadook that's no longer scary, and it's gonna sit in the basement. Like that's too on the nose. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be like if at the end of The Exorcist, fucking they went down and they fed the Exorcist brownies, the demon in the basement, because they're like, we're not afraid of you, and the power of Christ compels you, and it's like, no, just no.
Wouldn't it have been Georgetown cupcakes though?
Yeah,
Yes.
it would have been those.
But
Local reference.
I basically feel robbed by the film. Like if I wanted to,
It reached into your pocket and snatched everything.
Did you pay
had.
money to see it?
yes,
Oh well, then you got robbed.
but
I got to see it for quote unquote free because it was on Netflix.
yeah, if I wanted to see a crazy white woman lose her shit and have it manifested as the Babadook, I would have watched like How to Get Away with Murder or something like that, like something on
has
television.
the Babadook in it?
No, but if I wanted to see,
You should see single
lead
white
actress go insane, I would have seen
female.
that.
High Tension.
Okay.
That's another
High
Australian movie.
Tension's French, but it's
Oh, is it French?
Yeah,
God damn it.
it's pretty fucking awesome though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wanted a horror film, and I like I mentioned before, it's a horror film to the perspective of the child, but in the end, when it's
I feel like it's kind of a horror movie to the mother too.
Yeah, horror movie doesn't always have to. I mean, she's not. She's.
But I agree with you. Like I was expecting like demon, possession. I was expecting Paranormal Activity, type.
If the
thing.
big bad could have easily been solved by pharmaceutical drugs, no.
And a therapist. Although technically, if you want to go with the symbolism of like Sam was saying earlier, if you want to go with the symbolism of like any movie, that's how all of them could end.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be taken, but it's an allegory, guys. It's not supposed to be taken literally.
But it's also fiction, so therefore, like within the fictional world, it should be I would prefer a movie where it's actually, like it's for some reason Freddy is a demon that can enter into my dreams. I don't want it to be a metaphor for like having night terrors or something like that. I want it to actually be a slasher who's trying to kill me.
Well, I that's what I always assumed Freddy kind of was. Like I always assumed Freddy is kind of this metaphor for like what's the most, you're at your most vulnerable when you're sleeping.
Yeah, but you're saying like just the concept is a metaphor, not the actual character in the movie.
Well, I assume the Babadook is a metaphor for grief, but
yeah,
I assume that the Babadook actually.
I just assumed it was her
Babadook,
psychosis.
The character of the Babadook, I'm positing, is just straight like within the movie is just a metaphor. Like it's not something that's it's not some outward thing that's terrorizing her from with. It's not a third party. It's her own brain terrorizing her.
But I mean, the kid reacts to it long before she does.
Yeah, it's
well. It's like a dog sensing something wrong with a human. Maybe the kid's just more attuned to something's off about his mother, and that's how he's processing it.
The kid could have just been, he's a kid and read a scary story, and he thinks that the Babadook's real.
And then she
reacts to it.
And then her own psychosis is going so nuts that it puts that figure onto it. And that book probably never actually came back. Like that's just something that happened in her own mind. No one else ever saw the book come back.
Yeah.
She destroyed it.
Also,
it could.
I have the sense that the kid, he's a little bit off. Like he's just
I think
like a learning disability or something.
Well, he's got emotional issues too. I think largely
he
because
was in a car accident in the womb.
Yeah, well,
which probably messed up something. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to pretend to know.
Even prenatally, he has the or postnatally rather, after his birth, he was. I mean, the way he grew up with this kind of very resentful mother. Mm-hmm. It's a very isolated household. He's he's clearly ostracized at school for not having a father, and it's something he's extremely sensitive to.
Yeah, so his own psychosis is just
It could be a shared psychosis.
You know, you just got a real huge
Past live.
shitstorm going on
Past
in
live
this house.
infringing on modern day or whatever the line is from Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I don't know. I personally read it as a bit more literally, but within the frame of that allegory. But I mean, I could certainly see the idea that it doesn't actually exist. Period. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I
it's
saw.
not a real
Because
physical...
otherwise she's physically feeding the Babadook worms in her basement, and that's still the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
Either way.
But oddly enough, it did kind of harken back to this comic book written by the guy that created Invader Zim, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. His own psychoses, although within the comic book, is an actual thing, not just not what I'm talking about with the Babadook. But like the reason why he kills people is because he constantly needs to paint fresh blood on a wall in his basement, and if he doesn't paint it quickly enough, or it dries, because he has to keep putting fresh coats on it. If it dries up, then the walls between our dimension and some terrifying monster dimension break down, and monsters come out. And the reason why I say within that universe that it's real, not like the Babadook, is that it actually eats two of the people that he has chained up in the basement that he forgot about while he was doing something else, or I think maybe he was dead. It's been a long time since I've read it, but
you were a big fan of what, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac?
Invader Zim. I
Invader?
haven't really read much of the Johnny the Homicidal stuff.
I know my sister has it.
I would highly recommend it. It's only like 5 issues long or something like that.
Yeah, we got there's a nice hardcover or so at
the
shop.
director's cut.
Yeah.
And then Squee as well, which was a spin-off because there was a character in some little kid that befriends Johnny reluctantly, or as far as like Johnny's concerned.
Yeah, but to change gears a bit, we also saw a couple. We kind of did a double feature.
We did, yeah.
And kind of saw Sicario. Not kind of, we totally did. I saw Sicario.
Yeah, just kind of.
Yeah, I did nod off for a second, or I don't know how long I was out.
I didn't actually know you. I didn't even realize that you fell asleep, and you were sitting right next to me. So.
Yeah, during The Martian.
That bad?
No, I really liked The Martian. It was just I had been awake since 7. I had just sat in a movie theater for 2 hours watching Sicario. Had a second dinner because we cracked.
Because you're hobbits.
Yes, we cracked the code on Fairfax Corner.
I mean, I thought about it like later on, and I was like, I don't think I saved any money. I think I spent more money because it was like, yeah. I mean, to spend as much money as we did to save $8, I think I spent more money than I saved in the end.
Well, even going with like concession price, would you have gotten concessions between Sicario and the? Okay,
no,
I would have.
I think for one movie, sure.
I'm so confused right now because I have no idea what you guys did.
Basically, we went to Potbelly's, and if you get a meal there, you can get a ticket for $8 instead of paying full price for the ticket,
which is like 12.
Which makes sense because you get a meal, you're eating it, you don't need concessions, you got the ticket, boom, good to go. But then, here's where we come off, I think, like idiots, because
entirely possible.
We saw the first movie, did that, and then we went and thought, hey, we're going to save $4, but ended up spending $23 to save $4 off of a ticket. And when I was eating like the food that I wasn't really hungry for, I was like, what?
At Fanfare, which is the sports bar in Fairfax Corner, if you spend $10, you can buy the ticket for $8, which is what we did as well.
Yeah.
My rationale is I'm probably going to get something at the concession stand in between movies anyway. It's going to be expensive. It's like what, like $15 for
it's
popcorn?
like $15 for a large popcorn and a large soda.
Yeah. So I was like, and that's not counting the ticket price for The Martian. I'm just going to knock them both out here, spend like $18, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I mean. Maybe I wouldn't do a double feature.
I think the double feature is the cracking the code and then resealing it. Where doing just one works.
There was a movie theater.
We cracked the code at Glory Days too.
The trick is to go after 9.
Yeah,
because all the appetizers are $5 or less.
Yeah.
There was a movie theater in New York that I used to go to, and I would go like on my day off. I would get there watch a movie at like 11 o'clock in the morning because everything before noon is like half price, which a couple theaters around here are doing that as well. So I would go, and then like there was this one day where I was there, and I was like, there's no one paying attention to what's going on, like who's in what theaters or anything like that. Like I know I've worked in a theater before. It's really hard to keep track of that, especially when you have more than 2 screens. And I was like, there's this movie that I kind of want to see that I don't really feel like I don't want to see it so bad that I want to pay for it, but I have nothing to do today. So I just walked into the theater to snuck in a free movie. Got a double feature. But you know what? I also
the 2 for 1.
Yeah, but I also got a hella concession. So I basically it evened out, and also concessions are where movie theaters get their profits.
No judgment here, by the way.
I know, but I need to justify it to myself because I used to work in a movie theater. But so I got hella concessions. Gave the movie theater more money than they would have gotten anyway, and that second theater was half full. So whatever. Those people probably paid for it. It was Chernobyl Diaries, and that movie was But
it looked like your standard found fiction.
Yeah.
Or found footage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was fiction too. But yeah, it was although it just happened to come out at the perfect time because I was really into the Chernobyl blast and stuff like that. Just happened to work out timing wise, and I was like, hey, the thing about Chernobyl. Then I would do that once every month or so. Just a fun little double feature, and it was nice. I like it. I miss doing double features.
Yeah. It's
especially for the price of one.
Maybe not a nighttime double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
the first movie started at 10 to 8.
Yeah, and it's 2 hours. Then we had second meal, and then the Martian, which was the longer of the two by about 20 some minutes.
It was after 1 o'clock when we were done.
Started at 11.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. It was great.
I know, I enjoyed it. I mean,
what time did you wake up on Friday, Josh?
I think 9 or 10 in the morning.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, no, I didn't sleep in.
I woke up at 2.
But yeah, I mean, then we
p.m.
we rolled in and watched Sicario first, which is, if you're doing a double feature, do Sicario first because
that's become your favorite.
Well, it has, but also there's not a lot of joy and happiness in that. And The Martian, there's a little bit of joy and happiness in The Martian, and it's funny.
I'd say there's a lot more joy and happiness in The Martian than there is in Sicario.
Yes. But yeah, the Sicario, I mean, I was excited for that. Full disclosure, before we saw both, that's the one I was more excited for. And I loved it. I loved it. I mean, it's my favorite movie of the year, and good old Benicio del Toro, who doesn't disappoint, even in The Werewolf, which isn't necessarily his fault.
Or The Wolfman, rather.
The Wolfman. He's fine in it. But yeah, he steals the show once again in Sicario, as just this kind of staccato kind of beast of a figure that just, when he needs to unleash the Del Toro, he unleashes the Del Toro.
So the of bull.
Yes,
that's what I call it when I'm about to have sex. Unleashing the Del Toro.
And
I heard if I may jump in real quick, I heard that they've already greenlit a potential side quest starring the Benicio del Toro character.
I mean, that'd be cool, but there's zero reason for that.
I mean, it's
my favorite performance of the year, but
Sicario 2: The Quest for More Money.
Yeah, it would, I think, it'd be a cash in, and
I could see where it would go, and there's so many other versions of it that already exist.
If it just becomes a fucking Hitman movie, then that's
it wouldn't go that route.
How do you think Sicario, since it tackles similar subject matter with the drug war, albeit 30 years later, how do you think it stacks up to Narcos?
It's interesting because Sicario is dealing with the fallout years later of, say, the death of Pablo Escobar, where they're like, you know what, maybe we should have one cartel in charge. It's easier to maintain than having a bunch of cartels to have to deal with. That's kind of where Sicario goes towards the end, where it's where Josh Brolin's kind of dropping the knowledge on Emily Blunt. Again, it's a 2-hour movie to a 10-hour movie, so Sicario is obviously much more based in. I mean, Narcos is based in true stories. It's following true people, and it's much more in depth. Where Sicario is very much, I guess, a companion piece to it. What happens post Narcos? I think the drug war is something that some people think it's as easy as good versus evil, and it's not. And Sicario and Narcos show that. Narcos shows that right off the bat in the pilot episode, very well. Where Sicario, depending on your thoughts on the war on drugs, you could totally see everyone in that movie as just bad villains, or you could see the whole thing
morally compromised,
or you could see the entire thing as what's the fucking point? You could see the end of the movie. What's the fucking point? I think it's never as easy as that with the war on drugs.
Well, I saw only, from my own opinions, one good person, one completely blind in the dark, and then the rest morally gray or go fuck yourself characters.
Well, it's very much like they just want to get the job done.
There's
no end point.
They want to control it, and Josh Brolin has a great line where he's like, until 20% of the population stops wanting to snort, inject, and smoke this shit, this is what we have to do. And it's one of those things where it's so easy for like us to sit around and be like, why don't they just kill all the bad guys? Why isn't someone good in power? Why don't we just check better at the borders? It's like it's not that fucking easy. Like, and again, that's where Narcos. That's where so I don't know why Narcos and Sicario are like the two hardest words for me to fucking remember. Narcos and Sicario are very good at showing you it's fucking dirty. It's the land of the wolves. If it's you can't play necessarily good guy and bad guy. You know what I mean? There's death and there's it's just death on both sides.
Death is the only constant.
Yeah, pretty much.
And taxes.
And so the idea,
Yeah.
the idea of Emily Blunt being very much like the audience in the movie, where it's like, because so much throughout the movie we don't know what's going on. We don't know what Josh Brolin's true endgame is. We don't know what Benicio del Toro's endgame is.
His is fairly simple.
But when you start watching the movie through Emily Blunt's eyes, you don't know what's going on. They keep you in the dark with her
intentionally.
Throughout the movie, and it's something where again Del Toro was telling the audience, aka Emily Blunt, you don't know shit. You don't know shit, and that's basically.
He says it in a very, very impolite way.
He basically says you don't know shit.
And I mean, that right there is already kind of impolite.
He says it a little more impolitely than that.
Oh, you mean at the end?
Yes.
Well, that's a different kind of.
That's a continuation of the conversation of telling her you don't know shit.
That's her. That's him. That's his ultimatum.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. When he's talking to her, when like they're in Mexico, and he's just like
when they first get to Juarez. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Though that you said you were saying the Juarez sequence is your favorite.
One of my favorite of the year. I mean, the way it was just directed, the tension, because it's a movie that's like, I mean, that sequence is what, 10, 15 minutes maybe
a little longer.
Maybe 3 minutes of it is actual action. The rest of it is driving, and it's because you don't know what's happening. Again, you're left in the dark. And when it finally does start to build up and bubble up and erupt, it's something that it just pays off so well.
I'd be curious to know how much of that would actually be truthful.
As in what? Like just driving to Mexico,
like
and
the level of
extraction, and
because there is some. I mean, it's not really put in the papers that much because of how morally gray it is, and how much cover up there wants to be. But yeah, there is shit like that happens around the border. I think it was like 5 years ago that the one sheriff that was standing up to Mexican cartels was found. Him and his family were found like beheaded and stuff, and they're like that's like deep into the United States.
Well, there was that girl who the cartel live tweeted her murder.
Oh yeah, the reporter.
Yeah. And it's something where it's like, I don't know. It's just I don't know how you can't read about this or know about what basically is the war on drugs and just be so unbelievably frustrated, and just it's not something as easy as stop selling drugs, and I think that's why a lot of these movies are fascinating, at least to me, and certainly other people. I mean, it's doing really well. It's a critically acclaimed movie, rightfully so, But yeah, it's just it's something, it's not Rorschach, man. It's not black and white. And I think Emily Blunt going into that, she keeps asking, "What the laws?" And there's that line.
Victor Garber is just kind of like, "What are you talking?
Yeah,
the rules don't apply."
Yeah, and the line's basically like, "Look, the whole idea, like the only reason they kept the FBI along is so the CIA could operate."
Yeah, Victor Garber basically, the CIA came, for what's a polite way to put this? A little bitch to allow them to legally do what they were doing. And Victor Garber was pretty much, okay, you can take the idiot who doesn't know anything or the professionally trained one who knows how to kick down a door.
Yeah.
Which do you want?
And
that's basically what she ended up serving.
Who's supposed to be the idiot who doesn't know anything? Her partner?
Yeah.
Well, the reason they don't pick him is because...
he knows exactly why.
Well, also because he's only at 18 months of experience as opposed to...
Also, he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Well,
and Emily Blunt is, because what they attach to Emily Blunt, and Josh Brolin knows, is that she wants to catch the guys responsible. And one of my favorite lines of the whole movie is when she goes, "Do I get to catch the guys responsible?" And he goes, "You get to catch the guys who are actually responsible." And that's such a CIA line, and it's such a line that it's exactly what Josh Brolin, he knows. We can keep her along with this. We can we can keep that core thing that she wants to do, because she is by nature throughout the movie the most, I guess you could say, morally sound person.
Her and her partner,
yeah.
But the thing is because and it's so much throughout the movie they're showing you, look, you're just the next house you're gonna go to, there's gonna be a bomb in it. It's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. We can cut it off here, and you're not gonna like it, but this is the way the game has to be played.
But they basically lie and use her.
But I mean, again,
but they know that if they keep her in the dark enough, her motivation for revenge and for kind of avenging her her operation at the beginning of the film is going to be enough to get her to compromise most, if not all, of her morals to do it.
And the interesting thing about the movie is how it ends, because I thought very much it's going to be one of those things where it is Emily Blunt taking out Del Toro at the very end.
Finally taking that stand.
I expected him to kill her.
And again, because the thing is, it's never, and thank God for this, it's never a romantic thing between the two of them. It's you remind me of my daughter.
Unless it's the Wolfman.
Unless it's the Wolfman. Oh, that's true. That's right. Yeah. I didn't even put that two shit together. And that's right. Fuck. Jesus. Okay. But yeah, there's, and the great thing too about Del Toro's character is it's one of those things where he saves her during a scene between the Punisher shows up and fucking Del Toro.
Yeah, good old John Bernthal.
Del Toro just owns this dude. But he saves her life during the movie. And what? Yeah, he saves her life.
That's not a matter of debate.
She's
being
him.
strangled.
It wasn't a metaphor.
Yeah, it's not the Babadook being fed worms.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it saving her life. I'd call it conveniently showing up when he was supposed to.
He stopped her from dying.
Yeah, that's the definition. How are you not getting that's the definition of saving?
You don't save someone's life if you're already using it as bait.
Yes.
Well, no. The thing is, he might have not.
I think what's going on.
I understand what he's
saying. He's looking at it from the victim's perspective. It's like, you were already throwing my life away. What the fuck? But even though I haven't seen it, I'm from context still stopped her from dying.
He could have. I mean, granted,
ergo saved her life.
He wasn't going to let her die, and by that sense, because they were using her to get to the Punisher.
Josh, it's okay to say yes. I agree.
And she was
not if he doesn't agree.
The hands were around her throat. The life was leaving her eyes, and Del Toro walks in and stops that action from happening by pointing a gun at John Bernthal's head.
Yeah, I think he would have been like, if I get in and she's already dead, well, shit, what a shame. Not really, but
But that didn't happen, so he saved her life.
Yeah, but not
rocket science.
I'm just putting out there, I don't believe he intentionally saved her life. He just happened to get there before she died.
He was watching, but again, he says later on that he was watching her to keep an eye on Bernthal, so that when Bernthal, if he did reveal the motives, because granted, she says, I almost slept with my hitman, and to your credit, kind of, I think, Del Toro says he wasn't your hitman, but we were using you to get to him. Now, granted, she sees the wristband and thinks, oh, shit, and they get in a scuffle, and he starts strangling the life out of her.
Originally, remember, he's like, I'm not, when he's beat the fuck up afterwards, he's like, I'm not here to kill her. I was trying to find out what she knew, because they're not after her. They know she's basically just like a legality.
She went into the bank.
Yeah, her being in there is a technicality.
But she shot a gun at him, and you can see in Bernthal was like, "You don't fucking shoot a gun at me."
Yeah.
He sees a gun go off next to him, where they're trying, and she all intention to kill him. He goes to strangle her, and Del Toro comes in. And is like, no.
Well, he realizes his cover's been blown. And it's like, well, now the thing is, he was always after the guys on top. He was always after the guys at the top of the operation.
And the thing that I was going to get to was the fact that there's that moment where he saves her life.
Yeah.
And they have that moment where he's like, you remind me of somebody very special. And again, we're not totally aware of his background yet. We don't find out till later what happened to his family. But the thing that I thought was interesting is you think, okay, like that's like, he has her back kind of thing, like throughout this, like he's going to watch over her.
Yeah.
And he fucking shoots her in her bulletproof vest at that point, because again, he's so willing to finish his mission and his goal that he's not going to kill her.
He's enough of a professional to
get her out of the way and say, don't ever point a gun at me again. It's not the thing where it's like, oh, there's this complete bond, whatever, she's going to be like, don't do it. And he's like, okay, you remind me of my daughter. It's fine. It's like, no. This dude's still steel. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can't stop this guy, which is why I'm afraid if they made a sequel, it would just be like fucking Taken.
Well, the thing is, like,
so bad.
The first one's
fun, but I mean, again,
2 and 3 can suck a nut. And I guess now 4, because they greenlit a 4.
Did they?
Even every time they're like, "This is it,
yeah,"
and then it's never it.
Yeah.
It's like
in the 4th one, he gets taken. He's like, "I'm gonna find myself."
Well, I'm
gonna find who kidnapped me.
He gets taken in 2.
Does he? I've never seen 2 or 3.
Him and Famke Janssen get taken in 2. And then in 3, he's framed for Famke Janssen's murder.
And also, fuck
nobody
anyone.
Gets taken.
Fuck anyone who's like, oh, hey, it's so cool that Liam Neeson's waited until the end of his life to do an action film. Go watch fucking Darkman.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
It is. Sam Raimi at his best. I think it was that when he found out that you wouldn't say it's him at his best.
Well,
I'm not saying it's his best film.
No, he's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me say that. I don't think it's his best movie.
Yeah.
But it is full tilt boogie, 100% Sam Raimi.
Oh, it's got
Here's
the
the
Sam
thing.
Raimi stamp.
We just posted the commentary for Army of Darkness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are, I'm assuming the 3 of you, or maybe I think Josh is kind of on the wire, but would you say his best film is Evil Dead 2?
Spider-Man 2.
Evil Dead 2.
It's my fuck it. It's Spider-Man 2 is like definitely my favorite.
I would say Spider-Man 2 is his best high budget movie. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
But because of that though, it loses a little bit of his spirit. I think that might just be, 50% the fact that it's not his characters. He's using somebody else's characters. Whereas Evil Dead, that's more or less his characters.
Yeah.
From inception to
I think him and like Bruce Campbell and like 1 or 2 of their other friends like came
Sam
together.
Spiegel, I think.
And created the characters and the plot and whatnot. But for all intents and purposes, it's Sam Raimi's baby.
Yeah. I'm more of an Army of Darkness guy. I love Evil Dead 2, Dead Until Dawn, which I didn't know was a subtitle for the longest time. I'm like, did somebody just add that? I always thought it was just Evil Dead 2, and then I keep seeing like home video releases where it's like Evil Dead 2, Dead Till Dawn.
Or Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn. Dead Till Dawn?
Yeah.
And then the sun comes up and they're like, everything's cool.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Evil Dead 2 is like definitely my favorite of the Evil Dead movies.
I have the blood red Laserdisc.
And you just got the gold Laserdisc of 1.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to turn down
the Laserdisc release of Army of Darkness.
I'm not going to turn down
special.
any Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think his, in terms of like, characterization,
it's not for love of the game.
And maybe if you ask my dad, and studio
the Yankees
tricks,
are the bad guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dad loves baseball as more than I think he loves the Yankees. But
or what was the Old West movie he did?
Oh, Quick and the Dead.
Yeah, Quick and the Dead. Very good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm usually a little iffy on westerns, but I think probably because it had the Sam Raimi stamp of approval, like he got me.
Yeah.
I don't think we've gotten Josh's answer
On Raimi, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd give it to Darkman or Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Respectable.
I think the biggest
As long as you don't say Spider-Man 3.
I mean, if
that
it
wasn't
is
his
then,
movie.
Yeah. If it is, fine.
Yeah.
I'd
I mean,
rather cut
statistically,
my
I'm sure.
dick off than watch Spider-Man 3 again.
I never blame
So,
Sam Raimi for that.
We might have a commentary. And I was thinking
Yeah.
that before you made that admission. I don't want to see your penis off. I mean, I'm not going to not want to see your penis off.
I'm just not going to have my heart in it when I masturbate to the action.
It was, yeah.
Sorry, I just tickled myself the thought that Sam's still gonna jerk off to it, but but just like going through the motions.
Yeah, it
literally.
was unplanned before, and then it's like we're watching Spider-Man 3, and I'm not enjoying it, and I see Josh like readying like a rusty like car key
Yeah.
to take off his member, and I'm just like, well, I mean,
Doesn't
I've got
even grab a cookie
yeah,
knife.
yeah. No, just
member.
his first thing like that comes to hand is just like, well,
His member.
I'm just like, well, I'm not seeing anybody.
But
True.
Sad but true.
Is there a limit on how many times we can invoke that?
You
No.
yourself
Yeah.
said there is no limit, and that's
Yeah.
true.
It's sad but true. So Sicario, though, is my favorite movie of the year. Del Toro is my favorite performance.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it again tomorrow, actually.
It's a top fiver for me, but I don't, it's not like
But what about the second film we saw, The Martian?
that's a top fiver, but it's
Top fiver, indeed.
There is, I mean, I think Josh and I were more interested, if I may speak for Josh, more than I usually do. Josh and I were more interested in seeing the Martian initially. Would you? And you said, I think we were saying before we were recording that you still favored that one over Sicario just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to see Sicario in general. I kind of, going in, had an idea of what it was going to be about, and it pretty much didn't detract from that. I knew jack shit about The Martian and was pleasantly surprised the entire way through it.
There was a moment about a third of the way through The Martian or something where I was like, yeah, or something. It wasn't
Might
actually
have been something else.
It wasn't actually The Martian, guys. I was all cosplaying for The Martian. I had my little antennas, and I was actually watching.
The Babadook.
No, I was watching Black Mass again. I was like, oh, fooled me twice. But
Shame on me.
yeah, but I was like, is this better than the Sicario? And then the movie kept going because that's a movie that doesn't quite have to be as long as it is.
No.
I wish I could say that whenever Matt Damon's on screen, it's phenomenal. Whenever he's not, and this isn't so much a discredit to everybody else because those are necessary scenes that have to happen, but the movie does kind of lose its momentum a bit whenever it's somebody else.
I
Matt
agree.
Damon is the Babadook of The Martian.
But he's real.
Oh. Or is he?
Yeah, they go back
Is he just a manifestation of NASA's guilt?
Yeah, they go back and there's like an empty spacesuit, and you're just like. But
where were the videos coming from?
that's
It's Gary Sinise from
Red
Red
Planet.
Planet.
Oh man, what's your favorite, Red Planet or Mission to Mars?
Sorry, just the way that like Sam like sits back whenever he does one of those questions. It's like a mic drop, even though it's just a question.
Well, it's so I don't breathe into the mic.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair.
Like Chocolate Rain.
But it's just so dramatic the way you pull back.
So wait.
I think it was Jake that once made the observation: nothing I do doesn't have a kind of a little flair.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you're gonna do it with flair.
There's a flair to
That's
everything.
what Charlotte, Ric Flair's daughter's like shirt says. Woo! Exactly.
But yeah, because those came out around the same time, kind of
Yeah.
like Deep Impact.
Remind me
Armageddon.
because I because
Red
they're
Planet's
both
Val
about Mars.
Kilmer.
Oh, okay.
Mission to Mars is Gary Sinise.
Mission to Mars. And I don't like either of those movies, but Mission to Mars.
I'm gonna go with Mission to Mars. Or is it Rocket Man?
Red Planet.
The only one of those movies I saw in theaters was Rocket Man.
Rocket Man.
Oh, I saw that in theaters too.
Yeah, which wasn't.
I might have as well.
Yeah, my dad thought that movie was fucking terrible because he took me to see it because I was like all of like maybe 10 or
Granted,
so.
he was not even close to the demographic.
Yeah, for me, I was like, I haven't seen that movie.
It's funny because my dad thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was shit.
Yeah. That's three things you agree with my father on. The first is your Trek over Star Trek over Star Wars, and I forget what the first thing was. I think it involved. I don't even fucking know. But
mustache rides.
he used to have a mustache for the longest time. But the
There you go, pro mustache rides.
yeah, the
or at least just presumably so.
yeah. Well, way to go, Jack. But the that's my father's name. The I really do like The Martian though. It's a Ridley Scott movie that I did not know he had in him. It is the happiest, most pleasant Ridley Scott film ever, and this is from the guy that directed A Good Year,
Which I own on DVD.
And
Russell Crowe just is up like Beetlejuice in that movie.
Probably what I enjoyed the most of it was the learning I got to do along with the film.
Oh yeah,
Very mature of you. It was very mature.
yeah. The little more you know star
Yeah,
show up.
mature.
Did you
Yeah.
complain that there wasn't homework to take home afterwards?
No, I'm not a complete idiot.
The I never said you were complete.
I never said I wasn't an idiot.
The what's the it really is, and this isn't giving anything away because I think the trailer kind of illustrates this. For me, I've always described that film after seeing it, which is to say, like in the past 48 hours, as Castaway by way of Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm.
And those I enjoyed both of those films. Castaway maybe goes on a little longer than it should.
Saving Private Ryan in space.
Yeah, but there's no battle against the Germans for a French bridge.
No, but it is Matt Damon being rescued.
It is just like kind of Inception.
Yeah, no. I over the last like 24 hours, I've seen a whole bunch of posts that's just like between Interstellar, Saving Private Ryan, and the Martian, we've spent X number of dollars to rescue Matt Damon, and it's all just like the budgets of the three movies combined.
Yeah, remember how hard he goes out in Interstellar?
Oh,
Yeah.
Just kind of classic.
yeah, classic Damon.
Remember how not nice he is in Interstellar?
Yep.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
much he deserves that.
Yeah. I think the only time we've seen more sinister Matt Damon is potentially The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he had to airbrush away his abs.
Yeah, because even he even has that kind of that he isn't as evil as Ben Affleck in Dogma. Like when he realizes that Ben Affleck is going after innocent people, he's like, we don't go after innocent people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he gets his wings cut off, and then he gets stabbed.
Ripped off, if I remember correctly. No, they cut off.
I thought they were
yeah,
'cause
no sword. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's been a long. I don't have that on Laserdisc, guys.
Is
I
that the
can't-
only '90s Smith you're missing on Laserdisc?
I don't even know if it's on Laserdisc. I should look that up.
I mean,
It makes sense that it would be, though, given the time frame that it came out and Kevin Smith's love of Laserdiscs.
Yeah. But yeah, both of those films are top fivers for me so far this year.
Oh yeah, 4.5 hours well spent at the theater.
Yeah. Again, I did not off of it during Martian.
Like I said, I didn't.
It's
even
okay,
notice.
Sam. We all make mistakes.
I mean,
I listened to the Insane Clown Posse in high school.
yeah.
Oof.
What's the worst mistake I've ever made? Not one I want to share here because I don't know if the statute of limitations is passed. But yeah, both fantastic films. If you're a big fan, go check them both out. What would you say is what puts Sicario above everything else so far for you, Jake?
The subject. I think the subject matter and how serious they took it, and Del Toro's performance. It wasn't as something as simple as we catch the bad guys. You know,
Because in something like Sicario or just the drug war in general in real life,
Mhm.
there are no winners.
yeah, and I think that's and we were talking about some of the transitions and the way it was filmed. Both movies, of course, but there's some shots in Sicario that are just so. The symbolism and how creative they are for what's about to happen is really, really cool.
I would love to see The Martian again in 3D because I've been hearing great things
I did,
about
yeah,
that.
I have heard good things about that.
I thought Ridley Scott did a good use of 3D in Prometheus, at least the beginning of it.
and the cool thing is, there's no shots that I remember in The Martian that are overtly look at me, like that would have been a 3D shot.
Well, yeah, he's not throwing shit at your face.
Yeah, it's all depth of field stuff.
Yeah, I feel like especially like when he's in the rover just driving around Mars, it would look really, really great.
Yeah, and all like the interiors of like the spaceship or even
maybe
like, the facility.
it'd be like I'm sure like they're doing like IMAX 3D, but like
but man, what a murderer's row of like actors in that. And they don't even get like necessarily. Well,
same with Sicario too. I mean, like you look at the cast list of both.
Oh, you get Jeffrey Donovan post burn notice.
Yeah,
with a porno stash.
Yeah, and specks of blood in his urine.
Yep. Best co-star of that film.
But it's just both films. They couldn't be more different, but they're just very.
Here's the thing: do you prefer your double features similar, or are you fine with like the
I'm fine with them being different because I was telling you afterwards, the last double feature I probably remember doing was The Exorcist and E.T. with our good friend TJ, where we saw The Exorcist at Fairfax Corner, and it was fucking just amazing to see that in theaters.
Was it the director's cut?
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's not like, oh, fuck you, but like, because I don't like this. The staircase scene is, I think it's just, it's going to sound so snobby, but like ruins, I think, not ruins, but is so
detracts from the pace.
Detracts from, in my opinion, like one of, if not like my favorite paced like film of all time. I think The Exorcist is so perfectly paced. And then we went and saw E.T., and I cried for other reasons because it's a beautiful film, not a scary film. But we saw that at Fairfax Town Center, and that was just, I mean, E.T. is. I think for most of us, I mean, especially if we saw it in our childhood, it's such a special movie because it takes you back. One because it's filmed from the perspective of a child, and two
to the point where like every single camera angle is a low angle camera shot.
Yeah, I mean, like the quote unquote who we think the bad guy is for most of the film is just jingling keys. You don't see his face till towards the end.
Oddly enough, I never really cared for E.T.
Really?
Yeah. Like it just always seemed like a slow, boring movie.
You're a
for
penis
me
breath.
While we're on the topic of penis breath, that's why I'm talking.
Yeah,
but
I can smell it from here.
It wafts over, but I feel
smells like balls.
Smells like balls.
I'm assuming then you're also maybe not completely sold on Close Encounters.
Actually, I really love Close Encounters.
I always thought that was the slower of the two.
Yeah, but. I don't know. Well, I didn't see Close Encounters until I was older, so like that might be the trade off. Like it was, I was watching it, kind of more age appropriately, and it's in my opinion, it's much more like well shot, like well framed.
Oh, it has some of my all time like favorite
great visuals. Yeah, whereas like E.T. is a kids movie.
Now, did you see E.T. as a child?
Yes.
Here's the thing that I think...
I actually haven't seen it as an adult.
Okay, I was just going to say, I saw it a lot when I was a child, when I was like 5, 6. I saw it again when I was like 25, and that's what made the movie...
Yeah.
I realized it was such a special movie because it took me right back to being a 5-year-old. So it'd be interesting.
And also a big thing is like I never really like followed what was going on in the story when I was a kid watching it.
Watch it again as an adult and let me know what you think. Because I feel like that might be...
I saw it and experienced the ride as a child. Both frightened the fuck out of me, and I hated it for it.
Yeah.
You know what was more terrifying?
Scary about the ride?
Mac and Me.
That's frightening.
That
completely different merits.
That might also be another reason why I don't really like E.T. because those two movies I saw very close together as a young child, so they kind of merged together in my memory. And like I saw E.T. as like early double digits, and I was like, why isn't E.T. getting sucked into a vacuum?
Yeah.
Why aren't they going to McDonald's for their birthday?
Let's see. What frightened me about E.T., the film, probably the decontamination sequences.
I can understand that.
Oh, yeah, where he's like passed out at the bottom of the ravine. You're like,
and
sick E.T., yeah.
OD.
And then the ride, probably the sections right before you go to E.T.'s homeworld. Like where it gets really dark and depressing.
I wouldn't know. I've never ridden the ride.
Does anybody know?
I did the ride, but I don't remember it. Really.
No, I'm asking does anybody know if it's still in operation? Because I know they took out Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm. And T2 3D.
Yeah, and Earthquake.
If I had to guess, I'd say probably
Jaws?
not.
Didn't they take out Jaws too?
Yeah. I never got to ride Jaws.
Neither did I.
I did get to ride Confrontation.
Jaws is... Oh, there's a spider hanging down. Interesting.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, indeed.
I
There,
don't think he'll give you powers.
no. Jaws 2 is one of those rides, like the Great Movie Ride, where your experience is how good your ride person is. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by this, but ride person.
Yeah.
The person,
Yeah,
your tour guide.
I'll take care of it. You guys keep talking.
How good your tour guide is. If he can sell it. If he really sells it, then that's how your experience is. Because the Great Movie Ride is my favorite, probably, ride of all time.
Of all time. Ooh, that's tough. What's my favorite ride of all time? Haunted Mansion.
Tower of Terror.
Tower of Terror is good too. It's got Kirsten Dunst.
Say what?
She's the little girl in the beginning video of the Tower of Terror.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know that.
Whoa!
I love Kirsten Dunst.
Whoa! I mean, like what you like, but whoa! Nah, yeah. You know, I've never actually been to Disney Hollywood Studios, or even when it was known as Disney MGM. I've never ridden the Tower of Terror. I've never been to California Adventure, where they have their version of the Tower of Terror.
MGM's fantastic.
That's fine. I just recently learned about what Disney has in Japan and feel like I've missed out on quite a lot.
You can.
What do they have in Japan?
Disney World Sea, spelled SEA, and then Disney Japan.
Yeah. No. They've got their. It's interesting
They have a
because
Disney SeaWorld?
it's.
Only it doesn't abuse animals.
Yeah, it's not like Blackfish status, but the so far as we know. But the
Yeah, SeaWorld wasn't Blackfish status until we found out.
yeah. They haven't had their hard hitting CNN documentary yet, but the
It's Disney lawyers, man. They do their job well.
they do.
They're like Scientologists.
Yeah,
They have good lawyers.
yeah. Though, I was kind of surprised to see Going Clear,
Yeah.
get that much because they could hit as hard as they did and get that much exposure because Scientologist lawyers are. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll shut down this podcast because I just spoke about Scientologist lawyers. There
Sorry,
I go
guys.
again. Yeah, but the
Big fan of Going Clear, by the way.
Yeah.
Still on my DVR because I want to
Yeah.
watch it again.
and if you guys have at home have HBO Go or HBO Now, check it out. Still there, but the
For now.
yeah, they're building a big Disney park over in Shanghai to kind of capitalize on that market. I'm sure they'll have all sorts of fun, cool stuff. And, of course, they start construction of the Star Wars stuff in January. I think they're going to add the Indiana Jones bar to downtown Disney next month, somewhere around the Jacques.
I think so. Also, I think California Adventure's getting a Mass Effect 4D ride in 2016, 2017.
Oh,
Hey, guys, you remember when Disney was thinking about putting a park out here?
in Haymarket.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
They were going to... what is this? Almost 20 years ago. Like maybe 15.
It was in the 90s.
Yeah. It was a 90s kind of time. Disney was talking about getting property out here, but too many there's too much historical stuff.
The battlefields, mainly.
Yeah.
They were going to get
Too
land.
much
Fucking
Civil War.
history.
It would have been...
To be fair, it would have sucked to get a Disney park out here because then that would have made this a tourist trap. I like being this far out of DC and not being
To be
surrounded-
fair, it would have been all the way out in Haymarket,
True. But still,
which is closer to you.
Yeah, which, to be fair,
and
Haymarket could use.
and property values would have skyrocketed, which means half of us probably would have had to move out.
Well, Haymarket's already
we
in
would have
Loudon,
never
so that would have been
met.
nothing new.
But
Yeah.
I'm saying even it would still affect the neighboring counties.
It would have been called Disney's Great American Adventure. It would have had a lot of. It would have basically been a celebration of American history. You'd get different instead of having Frontierland or in Epcot the countries or whatever. It would have been different parts of American history.
But I mean,
I
we
would've
already
been
get that
okay
at
with
Busch
that.
Gardens.
I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying I was against it. I'm just saying that's what it was or was supposed to be.
God damn it, history. You belong in a museum. Let them build their parks.
Coronado's dead, and so are his grandchildren. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah. So go check out both of those films.
Yes, get your ass to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars, indeed. Now that is some rocket science. But this is where we're going to have to put a little topper in our conversation. I'm sorry, guys, but look at the time. half of us are going to be out of state, so we'll be back next week, continuing this conversation. And next week you might get a special appearance. Maybe a former governor will show up. Maybe like a Belgian martial artist might pop by. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk. Maybe we'll shit on Destiny. That seems to be an easy thing to do. In any case, we'll see you guys next week.
Damn, that beat was dope.